I found it 3 weeks ago, purely by accident. I was browsing through a thread on r/unresolved mysteries when someone mentioned a subreddit called r/watching you read in a comment that's since been deleted. They didn't explain what it was, just dropped the name and said, if you can still access it, don't. The comment had negative karma. I clicked anyway. The subreddit loaded normally at first. It had been created 8 days prior. There were already 43,000 members, which seemed impossible for something so new, with 0 posts showing up on any other communities. The moderator list showed a single account, u/observer none. When I clicked on it, the profile was completely empty. Not suspended, not deleted, just blank like a page that never finished loading. 0 posts, 0 comments, account age showing as null. The sidebar had rules, but they weren't the usual guidelines about spam or civility. Rule 1, do not acknowledge that you are reading this. Rule 2, do not discuss the content of this subreddit outside of this subreddit. Rule 3, do not attempt to leave once you have scrolled past this point. Rule 4, you have already been counted. I should have closed the tab. Instead, I scrolled. The top post was titled Active Readers Live Count, and it was just a number that kept updating. When I first saw it, it read 1,847. I watched it climb to 1,851 while I sat there, then 1,852. The post had no text, no image, just that number refreshing every few seconds. The comments were turned off. The second post was a spreadsheet, an actual embedded Google sheet, view only, with thousands of rows. Each row had a username, a timestamp, and a status. Most of the statuses said reading. Some said aware. A few at the bottom said pending. I scrolled through the list out of curiosity, not really paying attention to the names, until I recognized one. It was a user I'd seen commenting in a gaming subreddit I frequented. The timestamp next to their name was from 2 days ago. The status was pending. I checked their profile. Their last comment had been posted 2 days ago. Nothing since. The third post was titled Transcript Session 1, and it was formatted like a chat log, except there were no usernames attached to the messages, just timestamps and text. The first message said, I think someone is watching my screen. The second one, posted 11 minutes later, said, no, not watching, reading along with me. I can feel it. The third message came 6 hours after that. I closed Reddit, but I can still feel them reading. How do I make it stop? The final message in the transcript was posted 19 hours after the first. It just said, I'm going to try and leave my house. There was no fourth message. I sat there, staring at the screen for what felt like a few minutes. When I finally looked at the clock in my taskbar, 12 minutes had passed. I hadn't scrolled, hadn't moved, just read the same transcript over and over without realizing it. I refreshed the page, and the transcript post was gone, not deleted, not removed. It was just missing from the list, as if it had never existed. The live count now read 1,858. I told myself I should leave, but my hands didn't move toward the browser controls. I just kept scrolling. The next post was titled Observation Log Entry 4, and it was written in a flat, clinical style. It described a user, anonymous, who had visited the subreddit and then begun experiencing what it called sustained attention events. The user reported feeling watched when alone. They mentioned that text on their screens seemed to linger in their vision even after looking away. They claimed that when they tried to talk to others about what they'd seen, the words wouldn't come out correctly. 3 days after their first visit, they stopped posting anywhere on Reddit. Their account still existed, but it was silent. The log didn't explain who was writing it or why. It just ended with a single line. Subject transitioned to pending status. Observation ongoing. I checked the subreddit member count. It had dropped to 42,971. I refreshed. 42,968. I sat and watched the number tick downward, slowly, irregularly. Every minute or so, it would drop by 1, sometimes 2. There was another post beneath the log. This one was just a list of dates and usernames, no context. I scanned through it without paying much attention at first. Then I slowed down. I recognized 3 of the names from communities I'd participated in. All 3 had gone silent within the last week. I opened their profiles in new tabs. The most recent one had made a post 4 days ago in /legal advice, asking if someone could file a restraining order against a person they couldn't identify or locate. The post had no replies. Their account hadn't been active since. I went back to the subreddit, and the list was longer. 5 more names had been added while I was gone. The dates next to them were all within the last 10 minutes. I checked the time again. I'd been on the subreddit for an hour and 40 minutes. I didn't remember an hour and 40 minutes passing. It felt like 20 minutes at most. I could account for maybe half an hour if I was generous, but not nearly 2 hours. There were more posts below. I kept scrolling. One was titled, "Browser Cache Successfully Stored," with no body text. Another was a poll asking, "Do you feel observed?" with 2 options, yes and yes. The poll showed 9,847 votes. Both options had votes. I hadn't voted, but when I refreshed the page, the number had gone up by 1. Further down was a post that was just a sentence. The average user reads at 238 words per minute. Below that, another, "You are reading slower now." I realized I was. Each word was taking longer to process. I had to reread sentences to make sure I understood them, even though they were simple. Another post appeared at the top of the feed without me refreshing. It was titled, "Median Time to Awareness, 67 minutes." I looked at the clock again. I'd been there for 2 hours and 11 minutes. I tried to close the tab. My hand moved to the X button, but I didn't click. I just hovered there, cursor trembling, unable to press down. It wasn't that I was frozen. I could move. I could breathe. I just couldn't make myself close it. It felt like trying to wake up from a dream where you know you're asleep, but your body won't respond. I minimized the browser instead, opened a different window, tried to distract myself with something else, but I could still feel it, the pull, the sense that something was unfinished. After 3 minutes, I maximized the browser again. The subreddit was still there. A new post had appeared. It was titled, "You Are Still Here." I didn't click on it, but it expanded anyway. The text was brief. "Most try to leave. That's expected. It doesn't matter. You've been reading long enough now. The count has been updated." I didn't want to open the spreadsheet again, but I did. I scrolled down through thousands of rows. I didn't find my name at first. I kept scrolling. Then I saw it, my username. The timestamp was from 2 hours and 16 minutes ago. The status was aware. I closed the laptop. I didn't shut it down properly. I just slammed it shut and sat there in the dark. My heart was pounding. I kept telling myself it was a prank, some kind of elaborate browser trick or a hacked script that pulled usernames from cookies. But I hadn't logged into Reddit on that browser. I'd been browsing in incognito mode. I didn't open the laptop for the rest of the night. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like someone was reading my thoughts as they formed, following along in real time, taking notes. The next morning, I checked Reddit on my phone. I didn't go back to the subreddit. I went to r/unresolved mysteries to find the comment that it mentioned it in the first place. The entire thread was gone. I searched for r/watching you read and got no results. I tried Google, nothing. I checked the Wayback Machine, no archives. I went to r/Reddit alternatives and asked if anyone remembered a subreddit by that name. My post was automatically removed within seconds for violating a rule I hadn't broken. 3 days passed. I noticed that a user I'd been following, someone who posted daily photography threads, had gone silent. Their last post was from the day I found the subreddit. I checked the profiles of the other users I'd recognized in that spreadsheet. All of them had stopped posting within 72 hours of their listed timestamps. I started keeping a list. 23 names so far, all of them quiet now. A week after I first found it, I tried searching for the subreddit again. This time, I got a single result, a cached page from a Reddit mirror site. The page loaded for a moment, and I saw the familiar layout, the live count post at the top. The number read 3. Then the page refreshed and returned a 404 error. When I tried to go back, my browser crashed. I haven't been able to shake the feeling that I'm being observed. Not watched, observed, like I'm a specimen under glass. I'll be reading something, anything, an article or a book, and I'll become convinced that someone else is reading it with me, following my eyes across the page, anticipating the next word before I get to it. I've started seeing my username in places it shouldn't be. A comment thread I never participated in, an upvote on a post I never opened. When I click on them, they vanish. The page reloads, and they're gone, replaced by nothing. Yesterday, I received a notification on Reddit. The account that sent it was u/observernone. When I opened it, there was no message, just a single character, a checkmark. The notification disappeared from my inbox 3 seconds later. I haven't opened Reddit since, but I can feel it, the same way I felt it that first night, that sensation of being read, of my thoughts being followed in real time, transcribed, logged, observed. I don't know how many of us are left. I don't know what pending means or what happens when you reach that status. I just know that I'm still here, still aware, and that the count is still going down. And I know that by writing this, by putting it into words, I've made it worse, because now you've read it. And if you've read this far, you're reading it the same way I did, compulsively, unable to stop, even though you know you should. I wonder what your status is. I wonder if you'll check.